listen about Landbell Group and how we are trying to incentivize and putting into practice lots of circular economy practices and helping our customers, our producers, our partners doing that, because we don't do anything without partnerships. I would say that collaboration is one of our keywords here and everywhere. So thanks a lot for being here to listen to the first panel of this afternoon. And once again, we don't do anything alone, so I would like to invite my special guest for this round table, Carlos Lorente Gras from HP. So Carlos is the Consumer Services Environmental Lead at HP. Then we will also have Markus Pache from Landbell Group. Markus is the Sales Director for the DACH region. Also, Doertenbach, coming from Germany. He's also a colleague at Landbell Group, and he's our head of Landbell Textile EPR program. And finally, Ricardo Neto. Ricardo is in Portugal, and he is the president of ERP Portugal and Novo Verde, and is also leading our PROs. Please sit. In Latin America and South America. Okay. Thanks a lot for joining us. So we'll be having this talk for about 45 minutes, and I think that I would like to start with Ricardo, because we are in Portugal. So Ricardo has been the maximum responsible for ERP in Portugal, and so we started here in 2007 when we launched ERP, and so from then on until now there were lots of developments, and I would like to hear from you nowadays which are the main challenges that we are facing in Portugal, namely regarding the waste of electrical and electronic equipment.
Well, thank you, Filipa. Thank you very much for the invitation. We start in 2005 with first collection in 2006. So it's almost 20 years. We will be 20 years next year on the 13th of May. We get our first permit back to 2006. We have now getting a new permit starting on the 1st of January 2025 for the next 10 years. But we have a lot of challenges because despite the presentation that we saw from Dora, we have issues on the collections in Portugal. It's about, I would say, a cultural thing. We have a target, a country target, is not a PRO target, but we have a country target of 65% of the waste put on the market of the average of the last 3 years, but in true, Portugal is achieving about 25%. So what is happening? We have a lot of deviation of the WEEE that is collected by pickers that are really well organized in Portugal. So even if sometimes the consumer behave, because as Dora referred, is really the trigger for everything. Sometimes you just have deviation. For instance, when you have the old for a new approach, so if when you buy a fridge and the fridge is collected at your home, the retailer must, if you want, to return your old fridge. In this case, we have issues with the truck drivers who deviate this waste. And of course that we have problems with the authorities, with inspections, with the police that until today did nothing about it. So all in all to do to all these things, there are a new approach in Portugal about tax waste, where today we are paying, I think that it's 12 euros for each ton that we miss to the target. And next year, so paying in 2026 on the deviation to the target of 2025, we will pay the equivalent to our operational costs. So we just did our budgets that we have also in this country to submit to authorities. But we really do not know how much we will pay in true, because you can have several approaches. But all in all, imagine that we will start to pay between 200 and 300 euros for each ton that you didn't collect, for one side. and you still have the penalty. Oh, by the way, I have to go to the police for statements every year because I missed targets. Okay, then I have a process, this kind of stuff. But it's the country that we have where I'm, as you see, I'm enjoying it. So anyway, so we are paying between 200 and 300 euros, we will, a ton. I can tell you that the fee that we charge to the producers will go to the sky. For next year's, what we think, next year, 2025, what we think that we will pay will be around 1.6 to 2 million euros in this tax waste. And I hope that the government will use it to control the waste from one side. On top of that, in the negotiations that we did, since that the collection is a country collection, is not a producer collection. For instance, in batteries, it's a producer collection target. So we negotiate that until 2027, we will not, the PROs in Portugal do not have to fulfill the 65%. We go, next year our target is 40% of the put on the market. But anyway, we are talking about 2 million euros because we do 25%. Imagine if we have to do, as we will have in 2027, to do 65%. This means, I don't know, 10 millions on taxes. So this is the problem that we have. This is what we have to deal with, and we have some tools. One of the obligations that we have for next year is, together with our competition, to promote a study of incentives, mainly to hazard waste like fridges, TVs, for instance, lamps, and this incentive will be paid to the consumer. My idea now will be paid to the consumer in order to get the waste and to get the waste controlled. One more time, we can pay to the consumer, but in the reverse chain, if someone is deviation, we will have the same problem. So what I see today is, if we pay the incentive for one side, if we pay the taxes, I will multiply by 4 the turnover that I have today just to pay incentives and taxes and no waste around. So I think there is something that is the need to do in the country about waste management.
Okay, so as you explained, lots of challenges that we need to face here, and I guess that probably in other countries of Europe, namely, we will have similar scenarios. And yes, more and more, we need to adapt the consumption and also the life cycle of the equipment, because not all of the electronic equipment have the same life cycle, the same number of years working. So it's very important to this balance between life cycle and end of life. So, and Carlos, I would like also to address you a question regarding this life cycle, because HP is one of our biggest customers since ever. So HP is one of the founding members of the European Recycling Platform. So you have been always taking care of lots of strategies and ideas and projects regarding innovation in order to make your products more sustainable. And I would like to hear from you, which are your main strategies nowadays to work on that part of the business?
Yeah, thanks Filipa, thanks for being here. So IHP, we do personal systems, printers, and computers, and we're doing sustainability because it's a good thing to do for the business. We are saying it in 3 different ways, because our employees are asking to be in a company that cares about the environment. Our customers are asking for sustainable solutions, including take back and recycling. And then our financing systems and shareholders are as well sitting there and asking us, what are you guys doing to make the world a better place to live? Okay? And then how we translate this sustainability strategy into circular economy and from a strategy to actions. We have set goals for 2025, and then we have some larger goals for 2030, and I will briefly explain you the 2025 goals. One of them is about using recycled content, because we can talk a lot about recycling products, but if us producers and as well designers of products are not designing and defining the specifications so that we can incorporate recycled content in our products, that doesn't get back into the closing the loop. So we are, by 2025, we will be using 30% recycled plastic in our products for all our worldwide operations, all the product scopes at HP, which is massive. It's a big number, 30%. Number two, another thing that we are doing is we are eliminating single-use, hard-to-recycle plastic from our packaging, and that many times means getting rid of that EPS foam, that white sport expand, that it's hard to recycle, pollutes the environments, and we are transitioning over fiber-based materials that are easier to recycle and have more likelihood of being recycled. And then the next goal we have, last goal we have by 2025, it's about actually collecting waste from our customers. And we are going to be reaching a cumulative since 2016. That's when the goal was set. 2016, we said in the next decade, we will be collecting 1.2 million tons of waste, and we are on track to do that by next year. So we are collecting a lot of waste, both from a compliance perspective, but as well, again, providing solutions for our customers because they want to recycle properly their materials. And that's for what we're really focused on implementing, and we have delivered a lot of the innovation, and we now need to go to scale and bring those solutions to all the portfolio. And then I don't know how many of you were attending yesterday's presentation, but as we travel to the future and what we see in the future, one of the things, and connecting back to the product longevity and lifetime of a product, we are seeing products that last longer and are being used for longer time. And the way we interpret and what we are delivering right now and start to launch a program, it's about refurbished devices. We really hope to get used devices back, doing an operation, managing cosmetics, changing some important parts, and delivering back to the customer, a customer that is buying a HP certified refurbished device with a 1-year warranty, full confidence that that computer, that printer will work. And this is how we're imagining that we will be expanding product lifetime as something that it's going to be more and more sustainable. So these are the 3 or 4 different areas where we are having a real impact at HP, and we are working towards for circular economy.
Thank you so much for this detailed explanation about what HP is doing. And in fact, recycling is the most obvious, I would say, concept that comes to our minds when we talk about circular economy, sustainability practices, etc. But in fact, we also have the reuse and refurbishment of equipment, in this case specifically. And lots of times it's just a question of changing a component of an equipment, and then it will last longer. So it's also a sustainable practice. And of course that when we buy a new equipment, we can find lots of different materials, and these equipment are sold in some packaging that can be made of plastic, made of cardboard, and sometimes glass, not in the case of equipment. But Markus, Pache, I would like to involve you here in this plastic material topic, because at Landbell Group we have been playing lots of cards in these innovative technologies for recycling, especially for these plastic materials. So I would like to hear from you which have been the main efforts and how are the results being good for the business and relevant for our strategy.
Yeah, well, I think first of all it's important to remember what Dora said at the very beginning of the introduction, that Landbell Group is operating producer responsibility organizations, so basically managing recycling material flows for many years. This gives us a certain expertise level in many areas, and obviously due to that we try to identify together with our customers and also together with our suppliers, with our recycling partners, what we need to do, what we should be doing in the next few years to address those topics and to be prepared to handle those topics on behalf of our customers. And I think what we discovered is that as of now, obviously, as you mentioned, plastics is the main challenge that we are facing. And lots of materials that are collected on a monomaterial level, so paper, glass, we can recycle pretty well normally, but when it comes to plastics, no matter what is the source, we are facing much tougher challenges than that. So what we did is analyzing where do we struggle, and based on that, creating strategies, how can we tackle those challenges. And first of all, and this is probably not an unexpected and new summary, we cannot do it on our own. We need to have partners, we need to collaborate, we need to build alliances, because Landbell Group has a very specific experience and expertise when it comes to managing material flows, when it comes to understanding where do the materials go, how are they collected, how is the whole flow being managed. But obviously we are not specialists to do the eventual recycling process. As a technical process, we need to have partners, especially when it comes to developing new innovative solutions. But what we can do as a Landbell Group is that we obviously see where we struggle and which are the materials where we struggle the most. And what we discovered, what we found out is that when it comes to the ability to properly sort materials, there is an issue, and this issue is called mixed plastic waste. We see that in the fast-moving consumer goods industry, which is the most important part of plastics production when it comes to putting packaging material into the market. And we discovered that as of now, there is no proper technology to recycle those materials and put it back into circulation as a high-quality application. So what happens at the moment is that the materials are being sorted. They are being assigned to a sorting fraction, which is mixed plastic waste. But eventually, those materials are being lost for high-quality recycling. They are either going to incineration or they are being downcycled, so not going into applications where we would expect them to be and where they are coming from. So no high-quality packaging or high-quality product applications, but really downcycling processes or incineration, which is an issue. Maybe to make it a bit more tangible, numbers from Germany, because this is the country where I'm coming from, so I can refer to some numbers there. We are overall, as the whole industry, handling 2.5 million tons of lightweight packaging. Of those, roughly 1.6 million tons of plastic packaging per year in Germany. Of those, 600,000 tons end up in the mixed plastic waste stream and go either to incineration or to downcycling. So all of these materials are being lost for high-quality applications. They are being lost for high-quality recycling. And this is what we discovered long ago, what we've been discussing with our customers, with our suppliers, and based on that have been trying to tackle this issue and a few more issues when it comes to plastics recycling, and have been starting to simply build collaborations that enable us to close the loop, to start at the very beginning, discuss with producers what do they expect, what are their challenges, and also eventually how can we deal with that, how can we enable that the packaging that producers put into circulation can be recycled at a high level and then be incorporated again into product or packaging applications. And this is what producers are also aiming for, because these days, and this is a very positive thing, every company, every serious company in the world wants to be considered a sustainable company, and this is a very good and very important development as a basis.
Okay, thank you so much. So I would say that our behavior as consumers is essential to get good materials to be then with high quality recycled and introduced in the manufacturing process again to try to close the loop. And this applies not only for the plastics but also in other industries. And I would like to keep this plastic topic as the bridge to go to the textile market, because some of our textile that we are using every single day can be made of PET, that is a type of plastic. So, Paul, I would like to hear from you, which are your main challenges regarding legislation, specifically because textile is a new topic, and we need to run very fast because 2025 is tomorrow. So I would like to hear from you, which are the main embarrassments and challenges that you may find in the legislation about textile?
That's a great question. I mean, textiles obviously is not a new topic. We're not here naked. We're all wearing them.
Thank God.
And but what is new to textiles is the way we consume them. And if we're looking at the numbers, since the year 2000, our textile consumption has nearly doubled. And that wouldn't be a problem if we would have had good end-of-use or end-of-life strategies in place to take these valuable secondary raw materials and circulate them to make them become new products. So very similar to what you described in the packaging industry. But the reality looks completely different. I don't know if you have seen these pictures of the global south where water pollution is taking place, or huge textile dump sites in the Atacama Desert in Chile, where pictures have been taken from space. They just show that, in a way, our system is overwhelmed by the sheer volumes of what we consume and what we produce. And this is part of the motivation, I guess, why the EU is reacting to this situation, and this is why the EU has launched a strategy on textiles in 2022, and is now about to launch many different legislation pieces in order to transfer, and I mean, we're just amongst us here, to transfer this industry, which was from a regulatory point of view, maybe in the wild west, to become more regulated. And what I mean by that is the EU strategy clearly foresees that all applications towards meeting a circular economy need to be considered when textiles are produced, put on market, and also with regards to their end-of-waste status. And this is why next year, for example, separate collection will be introduced in all EU member states, which means that textiles are no longer allowed to be dropped off in the household waste bins, but need to be separately collected in order to be processed separately as well. Another big impact will be the amended Waste Framework Directive, which will entail EPR systems in all member states for textiles. But not only end-of-use legislations will be dropped on our industry, it is also legislation such as the Eco Design for Sustainable Products, which will have a huge effect on the industry, as it entails to design for circularity, to make sure to use secondary raw materials and recycled materials. And all these efforts from the legislators will shift this industry, or will kickstart this industry on its journey or transformation to become circular. And as a matter of fact, we at Landbell Group are building solutions around these complexities which producers and brands are faced with today, and are taking them along on this journey to be a positive impact for the environment and a less stressful one.
Okay, so lots of challenges once again. And I would like to ask you, Ricardo, keeping in mind these challenges, which are the categories of e-waste that you think are more challenging to be managed, keeping in mind the Portuguese context?
Well, I don't think that it's about to be managed. It's about giving as an example, PV panels in Portugal. PV panels today represent 1/5 of the put on the market in Portugal. I mean, put on the market in Portugal, so all the equipment sold in Portugal, they are about 250,000 tons, and PV panels is 50,000 tons. So the country target for this kind of equipment will be 65% of it, I don't know, 33,000 tons, something like that. But the problem is that the target is the average of the last 3 years. And PV panels, they will be in use for the next 20 to 25 years. So how can we have the obligation to collect in the country 33,000 tons if there is no waste to collect? Because they are in use. In true, our what we are collecting nowadays is less than 1,000 tons, so less than 2%. And you know what? We will pay the waste tax for it. So I think that PV panels, it's probably the best example that I have today in Portugal, because I can have more, like fridges. I have one fridge since 2006 that already come to the target and we didn't collect because it is in use. So I think that the EU targets are completely out of what should be.
Okay. Would you like to address some suggestions of how we can try to solve these inconsistencies?
We know that the EU is studying several approaches. I can give you an example. The producers that is selling today the PV panels will not be around in 20, 25 years. So who will pay for it? Will be the producers that didn't put it in the market. And this will be a huge problem for us. I can tell you that in a common approach with the other WePRO in Portugal, we propose to Portuguese authorities to charge an amount that is the equivalent that we think that will be needed to manage this waste in 20 years or 25 years. And we will put this as a provision in our P&L and over in our balance sheet, and we should evolve to a fund. And it was, I think, it is still a good approach. I think that in some countries like Italy, they are doing similar approaches already agreed. But you know what? They do not agree with it. So in the country, in Portugal, so EU should speed up these kind of studies and should be really fast to change the targets and not waste time in discussions that in front of all of us we see that they are not real, as the 65% of European targets are not real, are not in Portugal, where we have, as I told you, the cultural thing to, because you know there are some jobs that people have after 6 p.m. They go around and they pick up all the fridges they see. Okay, see, not the fridges, sometimes only the compressor. And this is a kind of a job that we have. It's cultural. But I don't know how many countries, EU countries, are achieving the 65% of the targets. So if no one is achieving, probably the target is not a good one.
Yes, very ambitious, I would say, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to targets, we talk about collection and we also talk about recycling. And we know that at Landbell Group, we have been doing lots of partnerships, and I would like to mention a specific one about chemical recycling, Markus. And I would like to hear from you which are the main benefits and how was putting this project into practice, and which are the main results or the main numbers that you can share with us.
Yeah, well, maybe let's start with the very beginning. I think because it basically shows that those projects, they require just an awful lot of time, because, as I said, it's partnerships of not only different companies from different branches, different industries, but it's also different worlds. And the one world doesn't understand the other one. So our world of packaging, handling, materials, managing the overall flow is completely different to the core business of producers, of brand owners such as Mars, that are very ambitious to meet their targets, but that do not know that much in detail as any producer in the world probably about how the recycling material flow is and which kind of challenges and circumstances we face there. And then again, there's recycling partners that are extremely good and have a great expertise on their technology. But what we discovered in the overall discussions on chemical recycling is that we've been working with one of the global leaders in the chemical industry, Sabic, and this company is extremely good in anything when it comes to producing plastics. But obviously they are normally not dealing with any waste. They have never done before. So what we had to figure out, and this was the very beginning in 2020 when we kicked off the project, is first of all, do we share the same targets? Do we have the same understanding of how circular economy should be working, which we have been able to verify relatively quickly, luckily. But then also trying to make everyone understand the areas where we have the expertise, and again, brand owners helping us to understand their perspective, and our recycling partner helping us to understand their perspective, and also helping us to understand the technology. And only if you can bring all of these separate pieces together, then a closed loop in the circular economy can work. I think it's extremely important to understand where we are good at and what we can do, which tasks in the overall recycling chain we can fulfill and which we cannot, because it doesn't make any sense in those complex topics. To start up new, you need to find partners that have the expertise for specific areas. And as I said, it's only the combination of the three that is able to achieve something as we have achieved it. What we have been doing is, first of all, sharing ideas, sharing where we want to go, how do we understand chemical recycling can provide a solution for the challenges, especially polyolefin recycling. We have lots of polyolefins, high percentage in the mixed plastic waste, which we can, as I just described, cannot handle properly. We cannot reincorporate them into high quality packaging applications with the standard technology as of now. So this is the reason why we were discussing about chemical recycling and what chemical recycling can do by basically using the chemical process to further separate the chemical building blocks that we can then incorporate it into food contact packaging, which is for a company such as Mars the core ambition, because as of now they cannot use any recycled content in their food or pet food packaging because it's simply not allowed, it's not possible, and chemical recycling enables them to do that. So what we did is doing sorting tests jointly, first of all defining where is the Mars packaging ending up. Is it really ending up in the mixed plastic waste stream? Yes, it is, as we knew before and expected it, but we reconfirmed it. Then we were doing trials, tests at a smaller scale, and then we were doing a joint project. So really using the material fraction where the Mars packaging is ending up, and putting that through the process of chemical recycling, hydrotreating, which means basically cleaning the oil that you receive as an outcome, the pyrolysis oil, and then using it to create a new packaging application and packaging for one of the Mars products. And we've been able to do that in 2022. And actually the good thing was, the benefit I think for everyone is first of all showing that it's possible. This is one of the most challenging packaging challenges that you can find. And I think it's extremely important to show and underline that if we all join forces, it's possible to solve those challenges. It is, and it also creates pressure on other brand owners, on other actors. Also for our competitors, which are trying now to copy us, to set up the same methodology and model, which is extremely tough because, as I said, we've been starting in 2020. If they are starting in 2023, guess what? They are 3 years behind. So good for us. But then again, also, obviously, the competitors of similar industries as Mars, they are also trying to not fall behind. They are trying to set up a similar project, a similar model to underline that they are also caring about sustainability and trying to find similar solutions. So I think having those examples can only help the overall market to develop and to be able to scale up, because apart from all of the sustainability ambitions of brand owners and us and everyone involved, there is also regulatory stuff coming into force latest by 2030. And by then, we will never have enough secondary material for food packaging to even serve only the largest brand owners. So there is going to be limitations, and because of that, I can only recommend to any large brand owner to act as early as possible, because there is a run on those solutions, there is a run on the material being available, and it's better to start now than in 3 years, because the material for 2030 might be gone by then already.
Are you prepared to collaborate in the process? Oh, Paul, by the way, textile is also a sector that needs to have lots of collaboration coming from consumers and, of course, all the other stakeholders, because when we think about the chain, we are thinking about consumers, waste management partners, recyclers, lots of people and companies involved. So I would like to hear from you which are the, let's say, the innovative recycling strategies that you can see for textile. So, because I think it's a question that all of us we have, so how is it possible to recycle textile? Because the collection of it is an action that we have been participating in for some time already, at least here in Portugal, for example, having the containers to place the textile. But then, what happens next?
Yeah, maybe one word about the collection, because yeah, we have an infrastructure in Europe, but the infrastructure is far from being ideal at this moment. Because the collection rates are rather low. We're ranking somewhere between 20 to 30% at the moment, and countries like Germany, for example, they have a collection rate of 68%, but Italy is only at 11% and rising. So we do need to create more awareness what to do at the end of life of each garment. But with regards to the strategies, I mean, this whole sector of discarded textiles collection, sorting, and recycling companies is momentarily switching from a self-financing sector, as it was organized in the last 30, 40 years, towards being a regulated one. And so there's a lot of change at the moment, but there are also a lot of challenges to be addressed. Because, I mean, if I look at my shoe here, I look at a beautiful shoe, but I also look at probably 30 to 40 different materials. So the actual product that we're dealing with is completely heterogeneous. It's a material mix, a complex material mix that we need to identify, and then we need to also figure out what to do with it. And that's why designing for circularity is so important in the future. Nonetheless, we also need to cope with the textile waste that is circulating at the moment. And that by far is the biggest challenge, and of course the holy grail lies within chemical recycling, because most of the materials that we're wearing today, I mean, we're in Portugal at the moment where there's a big textile industry, but the days where cotton was the most used fiber has long passed. I think polyester has a market share of 52 or 53%. So we really need to figure out what to do with this stuff and how to best upcycle it and create products of value again. And because you were asking what is the biggest challenge at the moment, is the identification. Because we're discarding our clothes in some drop-off box, then these clothing items are passed on to a first treatment facility or a sorting facility. And guess what? In the sorting facility, there are people who take each individual garment and sort it into fraction, and thereby defining what the next best use is. But what we as humans are completely incapable of is to identify. I mean, I can see that it is a blue sweater, I guess there's some cotton in it, but we cannot identify what materials are bound in our textiles. And that's why we need more advanced technology in order to identify the material mix. This could be done with a digital product passport, or it can be, I don't know, done with an NIR scanner. There are lots of innovations at the moment that are being scaled, but these are and the good thing is, I don't want to sound pessimistic here, we will tackle these problems because we're working on them. Nonetheless, these are the gaps today that hold us back from completing the circle at the moment. I could go on for hours now, but I think I should come to an end here.
Okay, thanks a lot, Paul, for this clarification. Keeping in mind this design for circularity, Carles, I would like to ask you how HP is taking this topic into consideration when it comes to the design of the products, for example, and then this more manufacturing process.
Sure. So it's interesting to see how you guys work and address like large, complex waste streams. I was gonna now share about one niche example for our cartridges. You probably all have changed your cartridge in the printer, and then you say, what am I doing with that, right? That's a pain point for our customers that we know very well, and we have been offering solutions for take-back collection of those cartridges, both for toner and inkjet, and that becomes a very niche stream, right? It's our own product that we get back in our own facilities. So, and with that, we are able to do processes of recycling that we would normally not be able to do. And we are being able to design the product for our system, right? Which is a very key thing, right? For us, it's like this product has been designed and optimized to be going through that process. So what we have done was just basically plastic cartridges are recycled, and the material in the cartridge plastic is separated out, cleaned, labels needs to be ripped off, and all of that things. And the metal parts, chip, and the printhead itself can be recovered with like precious metals and critical raw materials, which is very good. And then for the plastic on the open market, and then for the plastic, we really compound this plastic. We mix it together with or new plastic or packaging plastic, PET packaging plastic, and we create new material plastic compounds that are used back into HP original cartridges, right? This project, which seems very innovative, it has been live for 25 years. We have collected over 1 billion cartridges since the program is live. And I don't know how many tons of plastic we have prevented to go into landfills or being recycled in other areas of where the materials would have not been well managed, right? Mixed plastics are not well. So yeah, that's one way, that's a very niche specific aspect or flow that we are managing very tightly and that we are designing for it. And then for our larger, and most of our hardware goes to recyclers that you guys manage. So we are just keeping, again, similar. You look at a bill of materials, you have 40 different materials in there. And that really becomes complicated for us to do anything different. We were not designed for this. We will need to think about designing for this in the future and doing a better job at or manual disassembly where materials can be sorted out, or easier identification, more commonality across the materials that we have so that we have less number. And that's conversations that we are having, but it's not easy. It's not easy to design products with all the constraints of the end-of-life processing when you are trying to have long life and be useful and whatever. So.
Lots of criteria, right?
And it's not,
it.
And it becomes where the designer needs to know a lot about supply chain as well, right? And how that's going to be processed at the end of life. And this is really what we are trying to do, and we will need to do more and more. And I think regulations will bring a lot of design for recyclability aspects that will help.
So I would like to end. So it was very interesting, this conversation. I think that all of us, we learned a lot. And it was a pleasure once again to have you here, and thanks a lot to the organization for this invitation. And I would like to finish only with some aspirations, and I would like to hear from each one of you just a very quick sentence about what you would like to see in the next couple of years regarding circular economy. Just a very quick sentence. How do you see it?
I start.
Which are your
I've been
wishes?
saying this for the last 15 years actually, which is when I started my career in sustainable textiles. But this collaborative effort, which we're hearing about all the time, needs to actually continue, and it also needs to intensify. Your example just now is underlining that designers have to know the supply chain. They're completely two different worlds, but that's what we mean with collaboration, right? It's not going on stage and talking about problems and problems and problems. It's bringing all the actors in a supply chain in an ecosystem together so that everybody can understand each other and understand their neighbors. And then all these fancy circles that we're drawing in our marketing presentations, then it makes sense.
So have a very tangible action, right? Great. Do you want to add anything?
No, I'm with Paul.
I can
Okay.
sign up to this.
Yeah, I'll sign up
Okay.
for Paul.
Agreed.
He say a lot of sentences, so it's okay.
Thanks a lot once again. Thanks,
having
and
us.
see you very shortly. If you want to learn more about us, just join us in the first floor, okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.